The trap in the fog was thick on planet Varix 9. The jungle was silent, too silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. Darren held his scanner close, walking carefully over the moss-covered ground. He was alone, just a human technician, sent to fix a crashed supply drone. He didn't expect anything dangerous out here, just a quiet job on a quiet world. But then, a scream died high, sharp, terrified. Help! The voice echoed through the trees. It didn't sound human, but it was. Close. Darren froze. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't trained for this. But his feet started moving before his brain could stop them. He followed the sound through the thick fog. His boots crunched over fallen leaves. The jungle grew darker, tighter. Another cry softer this time, full of pain. And then, through the mist, he saw her. A young alien girl, maybe his age, maybe younger. She was trapped inside a glowing blue cage, energy beams forming sharp lines around her body. Her arms were scratched. Her legs were bleeding. Her skin had soft lavender patterns, and her white hair was tangled and dirty. But it was her eyes. That hit him hardest. She wasn't just scared. She was hopeless. Darren stepped forward. "Hey, it's okay. I'm here to help." The girl looked up fast, flinching. The cage crackled with energy. She couldn't move much. He studied the trap. It was advanced. Not something wild animals used. No, this was made by something smart. Something deadly. He reached into his bag and pulled out a tool. He had to disable the trap carefully. One wrong move, and it could kill her. As he knelt down, the girl whispered something. Her voice was shaky. "No, don't call him." "What?" Darren asked. She looked at him with wide eyes. "Trap, and not just trap. It sends signal. He comes when I scream." A chill ran through Darren's spine. This wasn't a simple cage. It was a hunter's trap. The scream was bait. And now he was here too. But it was too late to walk away. The girl was watching him. She wasn't screaming now, but her silent stare begged him not to leave. He worked fast, using his scanner to find the power source. It was alien tech, not easy to understand. But Darren had spent his life fixing broken things. This was no different. A sudden crack from the trees made him turn. Something heavy moved nearby. He kept working. "Almost there," he said, mostly to himself. The girl whispered again. "Why? You help?" Darren didn't answer right away. He didn't know. Maybe because she looked so alone. Maybe because no one else would. Finally, with one last spark, the energy cage shut down. The girl collapsed forward. Darren caught her before she hit the ground. She was light, weak. Her body trembled. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded slowly, but she was too shaky to move. He helped her up and wrapped her arm over his shoulder. They started walking back the way he came. The fog was still thick, but now it felt alive, like something was watching. Darren kept his scanner open. Nothing showed up yet, but his gut told him the hunter was near. He looked at the girl again. Her skin had small burn marks, old ones. She had been trapped before, maybe many times. They stopped near a fallen tree. He let her rest. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked at him, confused. "Name?" He pointed at himself. "I'm Darren." She touched her chest. "Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated. "Nice to meet you." She gave a weak smile. It was the first time he saw her smile, but the moment didn't last. Behind them, deep in the fog, a low growl rumbled through the trees. Lyra's eyes went wide with fear. She grabbed his arm. "He's here." "She won't leave." The growl faded into silence, but the fear stayed. Darren looked over his shoulder again. The fog behind them was thick, still, But something was out there, watching. He tightened his grip on Lyra's arm and helped her move faster. They didn't speak. Words would make noise. Noise would bring him closer. After what felt like hours, they reached the edge of the jungle. Darren's small outpost sat ahead, just a metal hut built near the edge of a rocky slope. A Cum's dish stood crooked beside, it still broken. He hadn't even started repairs. Lyra's legs gave out just before the door. Darren caught her again. Inside, it was quiet and cold. He sat her on the only cot and handed her a blanket. She didn't speak, but her eyes followed his every move. She didn't even blink. Darren checked the scanner again. No movement outside. No life signals. But that meant nothing. The hunter was smart. He didn't show up on normal scans. He walked to the shelf and grabbed a packet of food. Lyra stared at it, confused. "Here," Darren said softly. "It's not much, but it's safe." She took it with shaking hands. For a moment, she only held it. Then slowly, like she hadn't eaten in days, she opened the pack and started to eat. Darren sat across from her. "You should rest. You're safe here." Lyra looked around the room. Her fingers clenched the blanket tightly. She didn't believe him. And honestly, he didn't believe himself either. The night was long. Lyra didn't sleep. Not really. She stayed curled on the cot, eyes open, alert like a wounded animal. Every small noise outside made her flinch. At some point, she moved to the floor, closer to Darren's chair. He didn't say anything. He understood. She was afraid to be alone. By morning, the fog had lifted, but the fear hadn't. Darren stepped outside to check the generator. The air felt heavier. The birds were gone. The trees were too still. When he returned, Lyra was sitting up, watching the door. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but her eyes betrayed her. "Where are you from?" he tried. "Your home planet?" She looked away. "No more." He sat beside her. "Your people?" She shook her head. "Gone." Her voice was soft, broken. Each word took effort. Then she said something strange. "I was taken, raised by trap. I scream. He comes. He always comes." Darren stared at her. "You mean you were trained to be bait?" She didn't answer, but her silence said everything. He couldn't believe it. Someone or something had used her like a tool, like a lure to catch prey, and now she was free, but completely alone. "You don't have to stay here," Darren said gently. "When I fix the Cums, I'll call for help. Someone can take you home." Lyra looked at him again. Slowly she whispered, "No, I stay with you." Darren didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero. He was just a tech guy. He fixed things. He didn't rescue people. But now this girl, this alien who had been through hell, had decided he was her only safe place. She didn't know him, but she trusted him. That night, she sat beside him on the floor, close enough to touch. He handed her a small device, a translator he had adjusted. She looked at it like it might bite her. "Try it," he said. "It'll help us talk." Lyra put it in her ear. "Can you hear me better now?" Darren asked. She nodded. "Yes, your voice. It is warm." Darren blinked. That wasn't what he expected. But he smiled anyway. "Thanks." Then Lyra leaned her head against his shoulder. "Just for a second. I don't scream anymore," she whispered. Darren looked at her. "Why not?" She closed her eyes. "Because you heard me once. That was enough." Outside, something moved in the trees. A low, sharp clicking sound. The hunter was still out there. Waiting. The hunter returns the next day. The forest was quiet again. Too quiet. Darren stood outside the outpost, repairing the broken Cums dish. Lyra sat near the door, watching him with calm eyes, but her body stayed tense. Her hands never stopped moving, fingers twitching like she was waiting for something or someone. He climbed the metal ladder and adjusted the satellite arm. Just a little more power, and he could call for help. Maybe a patrol ship, maybe someone who could take Lyra to safety. Someone better than him. But every time he looked down, she was still there silent, sitting cross-legged like she belonged. Nowhere else. He sighed. You sure you want to stay? Lyra nodded. Yes. Why? Her voice was soft. Because when I look away, I still hear the trap, the scream, the cage. But when I look at you, I hear nothing. Darren didn't answer. His throat felt tight. Later that night, the power grid flickered. The lights blinked. The scanner made a short beep, then died. Darren rushed to check the system. Lyra followed close behind him, her eyes scanning the walls. The energy cells weren't drained. Something had interfered externally. He checked the window. Then he heard it click, click, click. A sound like bone tapping metal. Slow, careful. Hunting. Darren froze. Lyra dropped to the ground, her eyes wide with panic. He's here, she whispered. The hunter. He follows the signal. Darren turned on the backup scanner. This time, something showed up. It was moving just outside the clearing, tall, thin, and wrapped in some kind of dark cloak that shimmered against the light. It didn't walk. It glided between the trees. It wasn't just watching. It was waiting. Darren grabbed a stun rifle from the wall. He hadn't used it in months, but it still had charge. Lyra, he said, trying to stay calm. Get inside. Lock the door. She didn't move. He comes. For me, not you. That's exactly why you need to hide. No. She shook her head. He won't stop. He never stops. Suddenly, the outside sensor beeped. Too late. The hunter was at the door. A loud thump shook the frame. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra covered her mouth to keep from crying out. Darren aimed the rifle. Lyra, go! But she stayed. The door creaked, then burst open with a crash. A tall figure stepped into the light. His armor was black and sharp, like bone. His eyes glowed orange beneath a helmet that had no face, just teeth. The hunter. Lyra screamed. Darren fired. The bolt hit the hunter square in the chest, but the creature didn't fall. It just turned its head, like it was amused. Darren grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They dashed out the back hatch and into the forest. The fog was back again, thicker than before. Branches snapped behind them. The hunter was fast silent, but deadly close. Darren spotted a cave up ahead. There. They slid inside just before a sharp claw slashed through the air behind them. Inside the cave, it was pitch black. The only sound was Lyra's ragged breathing. She trembled beside Darren, her hands clutching his jacket. He won't stop, she whispered again. I won't either, Darren said. I promise. Then something strange happened. Lyra reached into her belt and pulled out a small, glowing crystal. It pulsed gently. What is that? Darren asked. She held it close to her chest. My memory, my truth. I show you. If we leave. Outside the cave, the hunter waited. Silent. Still. He wasn't just hunting them for food or sport. He was hunting something he lost, and Lyra had taken it with her. Her hidden past the cave was dark, but the crystal in Lyra's hand gave off a soft blue light. It made her face look even more tired and more honest. Darren watched her carefully. What do you mean, your memory? Lyra didn't answer right away. Her hands shook as she held the glowing shard close. This, she said slowly, is part of me. They gave it to me when I was small. Not to remember who I am, but to forget. Darren frowned. Forget what? She looked up at him with wet eyes. that I was born a trap. Not a person. The crystal pulsed once, and then images appeared. Not real ones, but shapes, memories, like shadows floating in the air. A lab, cold, full of glass and wires, small. Alien children in cages, silent. UNMOVING. And in one corner, a little girl with white hair, sitting inside a circle of electric lines, crying quietly while men in armor watched her from behind glass. That was me, Lyra whispered. They trained me. They said when I scream, the hunter comes. He finds those who come close and kills. Darren felt a chill run down his spine. You were used as bait? She nodded. Many times I screamed. People came to help me. They died, always. She touched her arm, showing faded scars. Each time they punished me less if the hunter won. He felt sick, angry. He couldn't believe someone could do this to a child. But one day, Lyra continued, he failed. A human came, a soldier. He didn't die. He shot the hunter, saved me. Darren leaned in. Then what happened? Her eyes filled with pain. The soldier took me, carried me, but the hunter wasn't dead. He followed us, killed the man. I ran. She gripped the crystal tighter. Since then, I screamed no more. Darren sat down beside her, speechless. This girl wasn't just a survivor. She was a ghost of war, a weapon made to look helpless. And now she was free, but the one who controlled her for so long was hunting again. Lyra looked at Darren. You should run. He shook his head. I won't leave you. I bring danger, she said. Everyone dies near me. Then I'll break the pattern. She blinked. What? I fix things, Lyra. That's what I do. You're not broken, but your past is. Maybe I can help fix that. Lyra looked at him for a long time. Her eyes softened, just a little. Then she whispered, he wants this crystal. He can track it. Darren nodded. Then we use it to trap him. Her head snapped up. No, too dangerous. But Darren was already thinking, already planning. We'll lure him to the old Kun station. I can rig the trap you were in. Rewire it. Make it work on him. Instead, you want to catch the hunter? No, Darren said. I want to stop him. For the first time, Lyra looked unsure. She had lived her whole life running, hiding, screaming. But now, someone was standing with her. Someone wanted to fight. For her. Outside the cave, the night was quiet again. But the fog had returned, swirling like ghosts through the trees. The hunter was still there. Still waiting, but this time. So were they about the final snare, the plan was dangerous. Maybe even hopeless. But Darren had no choice. He and Lyra moved quickly through the jungle, heading toward the abandoned Cum station where it all began. The place where Darren first heard her scream. The fog followed them like a shadow. Lyra carried the glowing crystal tightly in her hand. He can feel it, she said. He is already near. Darren nodded. Good. Let him come. The Cum station was half destroyed. Vines had grown over the metal walls, and wires hung like broken spiderwebs. Darren found the trap frame, the energy cage that once held Lyra. Its power was weak, but not gone. He crouched next to it, opening his toolkit. If I reverse the current and set a time charge, it might work. Lyra stood nearby, watching the trees. Her hands trembled. You're sure this will hold him? She asked. No, Darren said. But it'll hurt him long enough for me to end this. For hours. He worked. His fingers moved fast, adjusting wires, rerouting energy, and setting traps within traps. Lyra walked slowly through the station, touching the walls. She looked like a ghost returning to the place of her death. This is where I screamed for. Years, she said. No one came. Until you. Darren glanced at her. I almost didn't, but something about your voice. It felt real. She smiled just barely. When the trap was ready, Darren placed the crystal in the center dot, pulsed. Bright, loud. Lyra took a deep breath. He's coming. Minutes passed. Then, footsteps. Not loud, not rushed. Just slow. Confident. The trees moved. A figure appeared in the clearing. The hunter. He stepped into the fonter, trap unknowingly drawn by the crystal's call. His armor glowed under the jungle light. His eyes were fire, but this time, Lyra didn't scream. She stood tall, behind a tree, watching as Darren flipped the switch. The trap lit up. Blue light flashed. The ground shook. The hunter roared in rage as the energy beams wrapped around him. Like chains of fire, he thrashed, fought, but couldn't move. Darren stepped forward, holding the charged detonator. You like cages? He said. Here's one just for you. The hunter's eyes locked on him. A silent threat. Darren placed the charge beside the trap. 1 minute countdown. No turning back. Let's go. He shouted to Lyra. They ran together through the jungle, the explosion behind them growing closer. Boom. The blast shook the trees. Birds screamed and flew. The fog burned away for a moment in the FIRELIG. Then silence. They didn't stop running until they reached a small ridge. Lyra fell to her knees, breathing hard. Darren collapsed beside her. Did it work? She asked. I think so. She looked at him, her voice small. I'm free? Darren looked into her eyes. You've always been more than a trap, Lyra. Now the galaxy knows it too. She stared at him for a long time. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder. No more cages, she whispered. Not for me. Not for U.S. In the sky above, the stars blinked like watching eyes. Somewhere in the distance, something died, and something else was finally born. She stays with me. The sky was clear for the first time in days. No fog. No traps. No more fear. Darren. Lyra sat on the ridge, overlooking the jungle where the hunter had fallen. The air smelled like ash, but it was fresh, alive. Lyra had not spoken for a while. Her eyes scanned the sky. Quiet. Calm. Darren checked his scanner. Power's back. Signals clean. I can finally send a call. A patrol ship could be here by tomorrow. Lyra didn't move. He looked at her. You'll be safe. They'll take care of you. Maybe even bring you to your people. She shook her head. I don't have people, she said softly. They made sure of that. You have me, Darren said before he could stop himself. Lyra turned. Her eyes shimmered not from fear, but something else. Then I stay with you. The next morning, Darren packed his tools. He had orders to leave this planet. Mission complete. Drone repaired. Danger cleared. But as he stepped toward the transport beacon, he looked back. Lyra stood by the door of the outpost. She didn't speak. She just waited. Later, when the patrol ship finally landed, a young officer stepped out. You called for pickup? He asked. Darren nodded. Yeah, I did. But I'm not leaving. The officer raised an eyebrow. Your mission's over. My mission changed, Darren said. He looked at Lyra. I'm staying here. With her? We've got work to do. Lyra smiled, truly smiled. For the first time, it was soft. Small, but it was real. Over the next weeks, Darren rebuilt the comm station. Lyra helped. She learned quickly. Faster than most humans. She asked questions. She laughed sometimes. She even stopped waking up in the middle of the night. Each day, she stayed a little closer to him. And each night, she stayed a little longer. Beside his chair before falling asleep. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Lyra stood beside him on the ridge again. I used to think my scream would always be my curse, she said. Darren looked at her. And now? She took his hand. Now? I know. It was how you found me. They stood in silence, not because there was nothing to say, but because some silences are filled with peace. Final line, for narrator or voiceover. She screamed once, and he came. She never had to scream again.